Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 49. I'm Tony, and I think I want a refund to this magic show.
Okay, and I'm Jeff, and today we are talking about Snoopy's magic show. So, something Tony seemed a little excited for last time.
I was.
Yeah, before we get into any of that, I'm back from traveling. So,
Yay.
Hopefully all my audio should be back to normal with, all our favorite Australian birds yelling outside and all of that fun stuff.
Thank goodness. We missed them and their opinions.
100%. Also, everyone, our 1 year of doing this show is very quickly approaching.
Whoa.
And we wanted to do something, that is maybe a little fun for the occasion. We were planning on releasing a shortcuts over on the Patreon with like a little Q&A and just kind of some of our yapping about the show, our thoughts, and all of that after 1 year. Like all the shortcuts, it'll be available for free and paid members, but we want to know your questions. If you have any questions, let us know. Comment wherever you're listening, contact us on Blue Sky, email us at criticaldmgpod@gmail.com, send a carrier pigeon, kind of whatever you want. Just contact us however you can, and let us know if you have any questions that you want us to answer.
Yep, that can be questions about deeper thoughts on a game we've already covered, or expectations of games we haven't covered, or processes of the show, or just whatever you might have on your mind. We would love to get those questions sent in and read through them for this little Q&A and 1 year anniversary episode, which sounds wild to say.
Very much so. Yeah, it's time has flown, I suppose, but yeah, anything you might have that you might want to ask, and trust us, we will do plenty of our own commentary on random things and just our thoughts. So head over there in, a couple weeks and check that out. We'll let you know when it comes out. But for the next few episodes, we will put out this call for any questions because, we'd love to hear from you. With that, Tony, I'm pretty sure I know your immediate opinion, but do you want a refund because you loved the magic show so much?
No, I think immediate opinion is no asterisk. It's not a flat no, but I'm not super confident on it.
Okay. I am a flat no. I am a very, very no.
I'm curious to know why. I wonder if we are going to have the same reasons for why that is.
Yeah, but we will get into that. Before we do, can you let us know why we should have gone to the magic show in the beginning, what the back of the box told us?
Well, the reason you go to the magic show is because it's got Snoopy in it, but then the problem is that it's, we'll get into it. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, back of the box, Snoopy's magic show. As legendary magician Snoopy the Great, you must rescue your assistant Woodstock when his attempt to perform the dangerous magic ball trick goes out of control. Magic balls are on the attack, and even Woodstock has been multiplied by the runaway spell. Maneuver around ever-changing barriers and escape through enchanted exits. Summon all your powers to collect the Woodstocks through more than 100 levels of escalating jeopardy in Snoopy's Magic Show. And then there are a handful of screenshots. One says, beat the clock to save the Woodstocks. Master mystical magnetism that can help or harm you. Race through the maze at a supercharged pace. And escape dangerous magic balls with teleportation.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that sounds pretty much like what the game is.
Sure.
Yeah, it released in October of 1990, so still in that era of time. Not quite holiday season, but getting close at this point.
Yep.
Published by Kimco. And it's Snoopy branded. I guess we'll get more into that. So, Peanuts, I guess part of that whole franchise, all of that fun stuff. Aside from that, couldn't find a whole lot of background or information on it.
Oh.
Without diving into the Peanuts, is there anything that you want to say on the background of this?
So, yes, I will leave the Peanuts discussion for the aesthetics part of the episode. I probably have a lot to say there as a huge fan of Peanuts and Snoopy and things like that.
Okay.
But speaking strictly game development things here, did you, Jeff, see at any point while you were researching that this game was at one time during its initial development supposed to be just a game titled Death Ball?
I didn't, but
Does that clarify some things that we will talk about in the future?
yes. And
Right.
I think with that, let's put a little bit of a pin in that, because I think that probably relates to a lot of things that we'll say later. And let's go ahead and jump into the mechanics.
Yes, I will say more on those things toward the end of the episode.
All right. Snoopy's Magic Show is an action puzzle game, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
Your goal is to save Woodstock, I guess, or AKA collect the 4 Woodstocks that are around the screen in the time limit that you're allotted. Controls are pretty much as simple as they can be. Your D-pad moves you around. A will destroy some blocks, not all the blocks, but some blocks. B does nothing. So pretty simple controls. Of the 120 levels, Tony, did you beat them all? Did you save Woodstock and, I guess, I don't know, undo the magic spell or what? Whatever. Did you beat all 120 levels, or how far did you get, and what was your gameplay experience like?
I did not come even close. I pushed pretty far. I tried much harder than I thought I was going to.
Oh, okay.
When I initially started playing the game. So I think I capped out around level mid-30s.
Oh, wow.
So obviously, there's 100 something levels or whatever. So not super far, but I want to say I ended up somewhere like mid 30s, maybe even 40. I don't quite remember.
Okay.
But I was trying to see more of the cutscenes because I think it was around level 20, there was like a cute Snoopy cutscene. And so I was like, oh, there's reward scenes. I would like to see more of those. And so that kind of kept me going. But yeah, I think like mid 30s is about where I ended up. And that was just where I was like, okay, I feel like I have made enough progress and I have not gotten the reward picture yet. I'm going to call it here.
Okay, you got much further than I did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got to stage 16 and
okay,
I could have kept going, but yeah, it was just one of those, like, I got that far. I got, I think, a game over, and then the game does have, like, as far as I can tell, a pretty generous continue system. It seems like you can just continue over and over again. So that's kind of nice. But then I went and watched the speedrun, which there's only one speedrun on speedrun.com, and it's an hour and 10 minutes, and it's only for 50 levels. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. But even up until level 40, 50, the game doesn't seem to change any. It doesn't seem like it adds any more mechanics or anything. So pretty much what I'm saying with that is the whole game is you controlling Snoopy, trying to pick up Woodstocks. The random Woodstocks are around the screen. You're just trying to walk into them. And then there are 1 or 2 or maybe 3. I don't know if it ever gets to that much. But there are random bouncy balls that are bouncing around the screen that if they hit you, it takes a life. So that's kind of the core of the gameplay. There are then random obstacles. There are some blocks that you can push. Those are kind of intermittent. They look the same as other blocks that you can't push.
All of the obstacles are bad.
Yes.
I'm just going to put that out here right now before I let you just continue going on about it. I want to put up front, all of the obstacles are bad. They don't read well, and they are not fun to use.
I'm glad you cut me off with that because 100% agree. So you have the regular blocks that, yeah, some of them you can push, some of them you can't.
They look exactly the same.
Exactly.
Like, that's an important mechanical thing. They look exactly the same. Not only is there nothing to distinguish a pushable block from a non-pushable block, but some of the pushable blocks can only be shoved in one direction, and there's nothing to indicate that either.
Yep.
And sometimes it completely revolves the puzzle around where you push these blocks, and if you can't figure it out in time, then you'll lose the level. Every level has a time limit, so it's not just the balls that you're dodging to not get hit, but you'll run out of time too.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like a no-brainer thing to add in a like an action puzzle game like this, but they feel just totally haphazard. Like they gave no consideration whatsoever to how these obstacles actually function in this game.
Agreed, because then you have fragile blocks, which are unique. You know, you can tell what they are, and if you hit A on them, they will go away. You have disappearing blocks, which are, again, visually distinct.
They're the worst.
And those are annoying because you literally just have to stand there and wait until they either go away, or in some levels, you have to wait until they come back so you can traverse a one-way square, which is a square with an arrow on it, which if you stand on it, it'll push you a certain way. And it seems like a lot of the puzzles use those two blocks together to where it'll have a one-way block pushing you away from the woodstock, but a disappearing block will show up in front of the one-way block. So, you know, if the block is pushing you left, it will show up just to the left of that block. So then I guess you can move past it and get to the woodstock. So a lot of those levels are just kind of waiting until the disappearing blocks come back so you can progress with the puzzle. At least all of those are visually distinct, unlike the regular block is what the manual calls them, that some of them you can just push or not. And then they have teleporter squares, which again, visually distinct, but when you stand on them, they teleport you between the two squares, which fine, whatever, they exist, sure. So yeah, like that's pretty much the gameplay that you're going through. And I felt so much of it was like relatively boring or repetitive, or just like standing, waiting for one of these obstacles to move, or waiting for the ball to get away from your last woodstock so you could safely get it. And it just felt like you were going through the same thing over and over again.
So I have 3 short points to make. One is that you are not hating on the waiting blocks enough. They suck. The time that it takes for them to reappear or disappear is excruciatingly long, especially in a game where you are timed and will die if you don't finish the level fast enough. Like, what? I don't understand how that makes sense to do that, because there's a lot of times where you will just be sitting there and you cannot progress the level until the block disappears or whatever. You can't make it go any faster. There's no alternate paths. You literally just have to wait. Totally annoying mechanic.
I will say I never ran into running out of time.
I did.
Even though there is the timer that goes around like the outside of the screen, I never ran into actually running out of time. So maybe that's part of the reason why I'm not hating on them enough.
I ran out of time, not often, but a couple different times. I ran the clock out.
Makes sense. You played seemingly much longer than I did. And yeah, I mean, it just, even if you're not up against the time limit, it's just not fun to have to sit there and wait until the disappearing block comes back. It's just not fun. It's not fun. It's not an action puzzle game at that point. It's just waiting for like an arbitrary clock to go off.
Right. And if they were going to make a slow, casual game, then the timer needed to get scrapped, and then the waiting wouldn't really matter as much. It would just be a different flow, so that it feels at odds with itself here. Point 2 is the instances where the one-way arrow blocks or tiles that move you automatically are blocked off by something else, either a pushable block or one of the timed blocks or something else, so that you do have to cross them because they no longer automatically make you move. That's clever. I actually appreciated that mechanic in most of the levels that it was used. I might have had issues with how you got to that point, you know, like pushing the block into the right space or waiting for the timer block to pop back in or whatever. But I think that is a clever use of what would potentially be considered like a one-trick asset. Like, it's just a tile that sends you automatically forward in whatever direction. Well, what if we put a block in the way, then you can cross it like a bridge? Okay, that's solid. I think that was pretty good.
Sure, I could see that.
Point 3 is that the Woodstocks being just a MacGuffin, just like a thing that you're collecting.
Yeah.
We'll get into why that's bad in a, aesthetic or narrative sense later on. But my issue with why it stinks here mechanically is because it is just another empty layer in this game. Not only does this not feel cohesive, but because you are literally just collecting these Woodstocks that could have been anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have mattered. It could have been Snoopy collecting like bones or dog bowls or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't matter because they don't move. They don't try to navigate to different parts of the puzzle. They don't interact with like the bouncing balls in any way. They're literally just almost like flags. They're just like checkpoints you have to hit. And so the crux of the game being touch the flagpoles, the Woodstocks, and don't get hit by the ball is so basic in its presentation here. And at this point, again, and I think I've said this in other episodes of the show, even for it being late 1990, we've already played other games that do similar things to what this one is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is not offering anything new in any way. Nothing here on the table is like new or interesting that we haven't already seen somewhere else.
100% agree. And I think some of that will come in the wrap up.
Yeah.
And based on what you've already said, I think we'll touch on kind of why, at least I think that is. The last two real quick points I have for the mechanics before we take a quick ad break and then, move on to the creative discussion.
Sure.
You do get some power-ups, which are relatively uneventful. There is a power-up, which I never actually got.
I did. It's cool.
Yeah, apparently it allows you to destroy the bouncing balls.
They don't come back.
Oh.
And that's the nice part, is like if you destroy one with that, it does not respawn for the rest of the level.
I was wondering that.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, that is kind of nice. And then there's a clock power-up, which essentially just, for a short time, stops time.
Yep.
So everything freezes, yay. By everything, I mean the bouncing ball, because as you just mentioned, nothing else moves.
Nope.
The last thing I have is there is a password system, so yay, I guess. Pretty bone stock password system. You put in, I think it's a 4-character password, and it'll bring you to a level. If you get to level 20 and get a game over, you can copy down that password and go back to that level in future playthroughs. So I guess that's nice, but
yep.
Nothing new there.
My last thing is that this game is slow. And not just slow from a base level. I'm also talking about performance-wise.
I definitely noticed a few times specifically when there were 2 balls bouncing around, you got some definite, slowdown that was obviously not intended.
Oh, yeah.
And it did not feel good.
No. And it was not enough happening to justify. It was not.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're playing Gargoyle's Quest or something and there's a whole bunch of bad guys that are big colorful, but big like detailed sprites and stuff like that on the screen, I'm definitely a lot more willing to make some leeway for some slowdown or performance issue or whatever just because of what's happening on screen. This is not that.
Yeah, or Mercenary Force where you have 4 characters plus multiple enemies plus multiple projectiles.
Right.
This slowdown felt honestly the worst I can remember in a good while. I think probably not the worst that we've experienced at all.
No. It's not harmful here in the way that it has been in other places. Like, yeah, it's annoying, but it doesn't, or at least not for me, it didn't cost me. There wasn't any time where the lag
agree.
got me hit by a ball that I shouldn't have or something. It was just really, it made a slow game even slower. The game felt best when there was only 1 ball, because then at least everything was moving at a good clip.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, that's it for me then.
All right. So nice, concise little, I guess, mechanic section. Let's take a quick ad break, and then we'll be back with what I'm sure will be a great creative discussion about Snoopy.
We'll find out. Ad break.
Ad break.
Come one, come all. The circus of chaos has settled into town. Well, it sort of turned your town into the circus. It's all thanks to you shattering that crystal star. In Ursicus, a new game out now for the Game Boy Color and Analog Pocket, play as the unlucky deer Vivi, who unwittingly released a wild and ancient spirit that transforms her and her whole world into a strange and colorful circus. Sprint, bounce, and wall jump through each challenging level, choosing your own path in whatever order you want. And, if your acrobatics aren't just for show, you can collect bells and tickets to unlock extra characters and bonus levels. So get yourself under the big tent and try to put a stop to Vivi's wild ride in Ursicus. That's Urcicus by Platina XO. Out now on itch.io. You know, the original Game Boy might not have been internet connected, but we sure are. So if you'd like to reach out to us, you could find us on Blue Sky at criticaldmgpod.bsky.social, or you could email us at criticaldmgpod@gmail.com, and either of those will get to us faster than you would expect for people who are stuck on tech from the 1990s. And we're back. I think the music in the game was okay, but it didn't fit very well. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, my note was that it was whatever. You know, I feel like it was there, it existed, it didn't bother me, but I'm not a huge Peanuts fan. I have nothing against, Peanuts, but I know it has some classic music.
Sure.
And as far as I could tell, this was not it.
No, I don't think so either. I was listening on purpose to try and figure out if some of them were recognizable. I couldn't tell that they were. And they just were not only very kind of generic sounding, but they didn't really suit the game. The tracks change over time, like there's multiple different background music tracks that are available as the game progresses, which is nice.
Yeah, we typically like that.
But even if I thought that they sounded better, they just don't really fit. They don't make me think of whatever the game is trying to make me think of. And that's probably the biggest issue with this aesthetically overall, is that I don't think of anything related to Snoopy here, or Peanuts as a whole, or magic, or anything. Like, there is nothing about the theming here that makes sense in any way.
That's so good. So I actually had that as like my note for the wrap up, but
no, it's aesthetically important.
No, I agree. And my note was nothing felt Snoopy, nothing felt Peanuts, nothing felt Magic Show. It didn't feel like any of those. Like, the Snoopy sprite was cute, I guess.
The Snoopy sprite is pretty cute. I think that the sad Snoopy is very sad. It breaks my heart every time.
When you lose a life, when you get hit by the ball, he kind of like sits down and faces the screen. I think that was good. Woodstock was very noticeably Woodstock.
Yep.
I guess good job on both of those. The sprites looked like Snoopy and Woodstock.
Yeah, even though the Woodstock is the same size as the Snoopy sprite.
Yeah. And also, as you mentioned, doesn't move, doesn't do anything. There is like a left-facing and right-facing one.
Right, which is just mirroring Big Whoop.
Exactly. But fair enough. The two things looked like the two things they were supposed to, so...
Did you see any of the cutscenes, or you didn't get that far?
I did not, no.
Okay, that I will say. The title animation where you see Snoopy and his brother Spike running like back and forth across the screen.
Yeah.
That's very cute. The music there is awful. I don't know what they were doing there, but the music is bad. The rest of the game is not bad, but the title music is awful. But the title animation animation is very cute. And when I saw that first Snoopy animation, which I believe was just Snoopy laying on the doghouse, like, you know, you see so many times, it was very well done. It was very cute pixel art rendition of Snoopy. And that made me want to see more of them, because as far as any other Peanuts trappings or anything like that, there's none of that here. Yes, there is a Snoopy sprite and there is a Woodstock sprite, but that's it. They're not in a pumpkin patch, they're not in a snowy field, they're not at a school, or like nothing that, no environment, a baseball diamond, like they're not in any kind of environment from a Peanuts comic.
No, they're just in a grid with random things.
Right, and it's not even like magic show looking grid. It doesn't look like curtains or
a stage
or magic wands or a stage, or, you know, instead of these bouncing balls, they could have been saw blades or something, you know, like magic show stuff, and
literally anything else.
Right, exactly. So it's just so wild that we have said before in different games that also are licensed based on like media properties or whatever, that it doesn't have to be relevant and tied into the IP to be a good game, or vice versa. Just because it is tied into the IP doesn't make it a good game when it's not. All of those things being said, we've had some licensed games so far that, whether they have fallen more or less on the side of well tied in IP to game ratio, they've still been better than this. This is so completely divorced from like anything that it could have been related to Snoopy, Peanuts, whatever. This one is so obviously started as something else and they just like slapped Snoopy on it, which is wild considering that we played Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle, which was literally like 2 or 3 other games with the same mechanics but different sprites from other IPs, and that one still felt more appropriate than this one does.
On theme.
Exactly. Like, you know, you're shooting boxing gloves and dropping anvils and stuff like that on the characters coming to get you. Even that felt more than this. This is nothing. Calling it paper thin, like layer of aesthetic here would be a stretch.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like this kind of goes into my wrap up.
Oh, I have nothing else to add about the aesthetic stuff, so you can take it away.
All right. A quick aside, I just went and looked back at the speedrun. The level 20 and level 40 cutscenes were both the same.
Aw, what? So then I didn't get to level 40 because I would have seen that and I would have been so incensed.
So yeah, apparently it does not change.
Ah, what a disappointment.
If I'm wrong on that and, you know, somehow watched the video incorrectly while I was listening to Tony, let me know. But from what I could tell, yeah, the cutscenes do not change, which,
how bogus.
Frankly, I think works into the wrap up of it feels so low effort.
Oh, low effort is such a good point to put on it.
Like I said, that was my note for the wrap up, is that this is not a Snoopy game. This is not a Peanuts game. This is not any of that. It's a game that exists that I would say is mediocre at best. And then you add the fact that they painted kind of like a beloved character on it, and it just was not fun. It feels like kind of what you would expect from a licensed game of, okay, I already have this game that exists. Let me just slap a coat of paint on it to make it look like Snoopy and Woodstock and then move on with life. Like, the fact that there are 4 Woodstocks makes no sense. Okay, magic show, somehow the same spell.
I mean, technically there are more than one little bird that looks like Woodstock. They're not all called Woodstock.
Sure, yeah.
They could have just said that instead of being like, Woodstock got split in 4. They could have been like, oh no, Woodstock and his pals, you gotta rescue the birds.
Exactly.
It's like they don't even know Snoopy.
But to me, it is just like the quintessential go to someone who has a bunch of generic games made and say, okay, I want that one, slap this coat of paint on it, and it'll be a Snoopy game. That is what this feels like to me. And yeah, nothing felt like Snoopy, nothing felt like Peanuts. It didn't even feel like a magic show or anything like that. Like, you could have at least put Snoopy in like a top hat. I don't know. And on top of that, the gameplay was
uninspired.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I wouldn't say it's like the worst gameplay that we've had.
No.
But after 5 levels, 10 levels, there was no reason to continue playing.
I agree. I tried really hard. Before I had my entire scrap of reservation punctured by Jeff telling me that the pictures are probably the same, I was literally holding out for that. That was the impetus for me to continue going was, man, I want to see these pictures. The pixel art Snoopy stuff that is here is good and cute. Why is there not more of it? Like, there was so many opportunities to drop those things in there that they just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I also agree that the gameplay is uninspired and not really done very well, you know, the performance issues and stuff like that. There are definitely times where if you are not making exactly the right moves, you can soft lock yourself and you have to hit the select button to give up and do the level over again. That happened to me a couple different times. All of the obfuscation of, oh, these blocks are pushable, these ones aren't, these ones can break, these ones are hiding a teleport device. Like, all of those things are not telegraphed well and all wrap up into making this game that I feel like if it had been not Snoopy, if it had just been Deathball or whatever, and basically the way the game could have looked essentially the same, and it was just a little robot guy running around picking up batteries or whatever.
Yeah, nuts and bolts or whatever.
Sure, something like that. Even if everything else had remained the same, I honestly think I might be a little bit more up on it, just because it would not seem so soulless, I guess.
I would agree with you.
You know, and maybe there might not be any more soul in that original thing if they were able to turn it into this Snoopy thing at the end. Who can say? But there were things here that could have been improved on if the game would have just been this not Snoopy thing, and they added in something like, so Snoopy can destroy those certain blocks with the A button. What if you had the B button put up a shield that bounced the ball away in an emergency?
Yeah.
That would be it. That right there would have been something that I would have thought added to this game. And they could have had it be Snoopy waving a wand if they wanted it to be Snoopy, or it could have been a robot in Deathball Land or whatever.
And it would have made it feel a lot more action puzzle game.
Yes.
I felt like a lot of the times that I was hit by the ball, I couldn't do anything about it. I will say a lot of times were like kind of user error, but
sure, me too.
The ball moves faster than you do.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of times where you can't necessarily move out of the way. So yeah, something like B deflect once or twice a level, or maybe you have like 3 of them total. That would have made it feel a lot more action-y, in my opinion. And yeah, I agree with you. I feel like throwing Snoopy on it just made it feel surface level.
It sours my opinion more on the game. And you can say what you want to about that, I guess, but like, it's true.
Well, yeah, you know, we have occasionally ragged on games for their story or lack thereof or whatever. But usually, you know, I think we don't dive too deep into that if the gameplay is good. But this is one of those things where, yeah, I feel like they are making it so obvious that they are just
phoning it in.
Yeah, they're just slapping on like a facade that will get people to pick it up or buy it while putting in minimal effort into the game. And I would agree with you. I think I would like it more if it were just a little robot moving around, picking up batteries. Like, it wouldn't feel, I don't know, like a sellout, or like, it sounds like kind of icky to say that.
Sure.
But it feels like they are trying to sell it based on Snoopy, not based on a good game. And I think that's like what kind of sticks in my craw a bit, or whatever you want to say.
Sure. This is exactly the kind of thing that people think of when you would think licensed games are always bad.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that makes people think that, you know, this total
Agreed.
Split between the license and the game, and neither of them are good.
Yeah. And I guess my final thought is, the gameplay is not that horrendous, right? It's not
Sure.
unplayable. It's just not fun, and definitely not fun for 120 levels, and has nothing to do with Snoopy, Peanuts, etc. So I would say hard no. Do not waste your batteries on this.
Same.
Play something else.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I can't really give this one a pass. You could always just look up the art if you really wanted to see the Snoopy art or whatever, but I don't think that I even enjoyed the gameplay enough to really give it that asterisk. So yeah, don't play this one.
So sad. You were so excited about this
I
one.
was. I really, really was.
But with that, something you are probably excited about.
Yeah.
Quiz time.
Quiz time.
I'm currently sitting at 80.4. So last couple of quizzes have been okay. Honestly, the last 3 have been quite good. I had a little bit of rockiness a little bit before that, but let's see if this quiz can do me better than the others. I'm a little concerned because my Peanuts knowledge is not very good, but we'll see.
I know, I kept the lid pretty tight on my Peanuts fangirlishness. I deserve praise for that, perhaps. Anyway, Snoopy's Magic Show quiz. Question 1. While I wouldn't call the password system robust by any means, Snoopy's Magic Show does have a working password to every level, and thanks to a small handful of GameFAQs users, all of the available passwords are out there for anyone to use. Each one is a simple combination of 4 letters and or numbers, not using the entire alphabet or all of the numbers 0 through 9. But with so many combinations of letters possible, is it true or false that none of the passwords for any of the levels spells out an English word?
That has to be...
So there's a password for every level, so it would be out of 119 passwords. Do any of them spell out an English word?
Yeah. Oh... So I did look up GameFAQs and looked at the passwords and like quickly scrolled through them. And most of them are like 1, BY, 1, 2, or actually they're 4 letters, but whatever. I'm going to say none of them spell out an actual word unless there is a word that I don't know.
So out of 100 different passwords, there is one singular English word that gets spelled in what could be considered a recognizable way. And this would mean that the question was false, so I can put the little noise there.
What is it?
So, using letters and numbers...
Wait, you're not talking leet speak, are you?
I am.
A 1 does not...
I am.
No, a 1...
I am.
Okay.
I said,
a
that's
1
why I
does
said,
not equal an I.
I said combinations of letters and numbers.
Oh.
I did say that. Using letters and numbers, the word call is the password for level 80, being made up of the letter C and the numbers 411. I looked through the list until my eyes went cross. But from what I could see, none of the other combinations could be interpreted as real words, even with some generous rule bending. Like, nothing even comes close. Most of them are like 1H, 1X, or 2Z, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I am going to very begrudgingly accept getting this wrong because we have a history of leet speak. So I guess, you know, a little behind the scenes for everyone. When we were teenagers, that was potentially where we were at, but I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about it, but I'll allow it.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
We'll leave it up to the listeners. Maybe we can throw it to the listener court and they can be like, no, I don't know. Maybe Jeff gets that one right after all.
If listeners do not agree that C411 is a word, comment and we might overrule this quiz question.
Our first overturning, we'll see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question 2. I can't say that I was expecting much in the way of cut content or secrets in a game called Snoopy's Magic Show, but there is a tiny bit I learned about thanks to the cutting room floor. Apart from the obvious changes of copyright information between regional releases, it's not much more than some graphics that went unused in the game. But I do think that it's still a little interesting knowing the game's development origins. So there are 3 small graphics that were removed from the game entirely for various reasons. Which of these is not one of those cut graphics? A super small and emotionless face. B, a bespoke death ball title card. C, an adorable Snoopy sitting on the ground and smiling. Or D, all of these are real.
You know, I typically like all of the above, so I'm just going to go with D, all of the above, even though I don't feel great about that answer.
That's okay, because it's right.
Let's go.
They are all real. So while the death ball text was most likely from the title screen, or one would probably guess anyway, the sitting Snoopy and the weird little face are both from the end of the game. Apparently, the face was even repeated, quote, several times, according to the entry on Cutting Room Floor. I doubt they were both from the same stage of development, but I would love to know who put that little face there and why, and also why they cut the Snoopy. Like, it's just so interesting seeing these things sometimes, but like the face is just this little like square face with just like 2 little dot eyes and a straight line for a mouth. It just looks like emotionless, not even a smiling face, and it was apparently repeated several times in the end. Like, who put that there and why?
Bizarre. But 1 for 2 for right now, so hopefully question 3 does me well.
Question 3. Kemco is a name the Game Boy sees quite a lot throughout its library. On our show, we'll see them plenty of times, but there's lots of stuff that they worked on in some capacity that never left Japan. Having specifically checked the list just for this question, I found the next Kemco game that Critical DMG will cover that they had any hand in whatsoever, despite it not actually being the North American release version. But what kind of game will we be talking about when it gets here?
Puzzle game.
Is it true or false that the next Kemco game that we'll cover on the show is another licensed game based on classic children's character?
So the next one we'll cover on the show. This is main show, not DMG in Japan, correct?
This is main show. So Kemco did the job for this game in the Japanese release. Capcom handled the US release, but Kemco did work on this same game, and we will see it on the main show.
And the question is it
based on a licensed character? True or false that it is based on a licensed character?
I'm going to say sure. Why not? Sure that it is based on a licensed character.
It is. It's true.
Let's go. 50-50 shot in the dark, but...
Right? That's okay, though. I did not have a problem with double true false questions on this particular quiz.
In my head, Kemco also did Bugs Bunny, so I was like, surely that's kind of their MO. So.
They show up a lot on the list doing all sorts of stuff. Some of it's original, but yeah, even though we won't get to the game until sometime next year, and even though Kemco, like I said, wasn't who developed the version that we are going to get, that next game is Mickey's Dangerous Chase from May of 1991.
Ooh.
I don't know anything about it. I refused to look into it any further than I already had for this question. So it will remain mostly a mystery until 2027.
Fair enough. So, 2 for 3, not bad. Somehow that raised my percentage. I need to look at my spreadsheet because that doesn't make sense. Because that should be a 66% today, but it raised my percentage apparently to 81.9. So I'll check my spreadsheet. Maybe something is amiss, but regardless, doing all right with that.
66% today for now.
For now. Ooh,
listeners, let us know.
Yes. Let's bump that to 100%, and then my percentage correct can maybe be better. But with all of that, can you remind us what our quiz from last week was?
I can, and I hope this is the last time that I have to say Mr. Chin's Gourmet Paradise. Question for the audience was about how the whole reason that Mr. Chin journeyed to the US was to get himself peaches from the best place that he could get them from, I guess. And in the game, that happens to be Pennsylvania. And I said that usually most of the time, people probably think of Georgia as with peaches.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that Georgia is actually farther down the list of states that make their money from peaches than you might think. And so I wanted to know which state sells and grows the most peaches in the US. Jeff?
I looked this up last time, and I don't remember. My first initial reaction when you asked this again was like Wyoming, but I don't think that's right. I'm going to say California, because California is a very big state.
It is, and perhaps unsurprisingly to some, it is California. Like a great many things, California produces a lot of produce. In 2025, the USDA reported a forecast of over 550,000 tons of peaches would be produced in California, and it easily makes up around 75% of the total US production of peaches. Behind California is South Carolina, and then depending on the year, Georgia and Pennsylvania sort of like vie for the number 3 spot, and then there's a bunch of other states that make up the top 10 after that.
Wyoming probably is not in those because Wyoming is kind of a desert. But with that, our little geography lesson out of the way, what is the listener question for this week?
Snoopy's Magic Show listener question is, Peanuts endures in many media forms, seemingly always around in some form or other, with more frequent regularity in some countries than others. In the video game space, there have been quite a few Peanuts games made over the years with varying degrees of quality and relevance, as we have seen here today. But what I want to know about Peanuts as a video game entity is, what year did the most recent Peanuts game come out? Jeff?
I have no idea. I would say this year, but
Could be.
I don't know. And that's probably not correct, but maybe it is. Who knows? So if you know, comment, let us know what you think it is.
Yep.
But with that, I think we're at the end of Snoopy's Magic Show. Mm-hmm. I guess kind of for the better as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, we won't get the other Snoopy game that gets released on the Game Boy until DMG in Japan hits it later.
And that's a great segue into it's that time of, I guess, year, month, whatever. It's that time again where our next Patreon newsletter is coming out, and it is a DMG in Japan. So we're going over there to, look at what was on the shelves in Japan during this time and kind of, play some of the games and give a little bit of commentary on those.
Having recorded it already, or are we saying that as that? Have we recorded it already?
Sure, why not?
Having recorded it already, I have to say, there was some very interesting games on offer in this DMG in Japan, and I think that the way that we talked about them, because you covered yours in chronological order, spoilers, I guess, and I covered mine based on which one I liked from worst to best, made things an interesting mix.
Yeah.
So I hope that anybody who decides to check it out enjoys it, because I think I love the DMG in Japan segments, but I think this one is particularly good.
Yeah. We also have a game that is potentially hurt by the fact that it is licensed. So
that's true.
We have some fun stuff this month over on, the shelves of Japan, but join us over on our Patreon and check that out. And as always, we appreciate anyone who is a free or paid member over there. We appreciate it.
We do. And this is the last episode for June, I believe.
Yep.
Which means that it's no longer my birthday month.
Boo.
I know. It's sad. That's a sad note to end on. So let's move on to something else.
Anyway, sad, no longer birthday month for Tony. But I guess this game maybe came a little late because we're missing out on the balloons, because next week we are talking about Balloon Kid.
The That would have been really funny, actually, if that was the last game for my birthday month. It's like, we're going out with the balloons. Nope, it's got to come after. Happy belated birthday.
Sad. But anyway, join us next week when we talk about Balloon Kid and see what we think about it.
Yep, I have played Balloon Kid before, so I will have to keep my opinions to myself until next week. But until then, bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.